We need earthquake sounds now with the volcano in the background. All right, welcome to Stormwatch by GreyNoise Intelligence. Each week, we drop the latest info on what's happening at GreyNoise and Census, take a look at a roundup of important and timely cybersecurity topics, and toss out some expert opinions along with the occasional conspiracy theory. I am Bob Rudis, and with me today is Emily. Good day, Emily.
Hey, how are you, Bob?
I'm doing pretty well. Did the yesterday's nor'easter cause you any dampening of spirits by you? Because it was horrible up here.
It's a little chilly this morning here in Atlanta. It was like 28, but beyond that, like nothing too severe.
Wow. I shared with some of the folks at GreyNoise yesterday. At some point, I got a notification from the Davis Instruments. I have a couple weather stations, and at some point, my solar panel for my Davis Instruments weather station became a wing, and flew away somewhere. So I no longer have one of the weather stations. It was kind of a weird day yesterday.
Oh wow. Rip.
Yeah. Okay. So I have a question for everybody today. I'm going to start with you. What is your favorite, if you have one, New Year's Eve or day tradition?
So the only thing I can think of that like happens pretty consistently is every year Sci-Fi has a Twilight Zone marathon, and that usually gets played, in our house. Yeah.
Oh, that's
They've
cool.
done it for years too. So it's like the one time that I sit down and like actually watch the show. So yeah,
that's a pretty good one.
That's a great one. Awesome. And we also have Kimber. Kimber, are you ready for the upcoming break at GreyNoise?
I am, not to sound like too thoroughly excited, but I am so ready.
I hear you. I 100% hear you, Kimber. What is your favorite New Year's Eve or day tradition?
You know, the one that I've stuck with for a few years now is you can catch all of the fireworks celebrations from across the globe on YouTube.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Well, yeah, like Singapore, Dubai, like all kinds
of just back to back to back. Oh, that is so cool.
Yes. So I honestly, genuinely don't always stay up until midnight, but you can always catch the fireworks from like other places on YouTube.
Wow,
I love the internet.
This is great. So like we have like a marathon of Twilight Zone. We got like a marathon of fireworks. This is pretty cool. I'm thinking we have good suggestions for everybody. We also have Glenn. Glenn, well, we made it through the Tagsmas gauntlet, didn't we?
Yeah, that was a lot of work, actually.
Yeah, what idiot thought about that? Like said that
I don't know, but I'm putting it in their performance review
because that was the dumbest idea we ever had. For folks that don't know, I'm just going to plug Tagsmas. We ended it this past Monday with a closer with a closer that apparently every other cybersecurity company thought was a good idea to Log4j. Yeah. So you might want to go to there. Glenn, what is your favorite New Year's Eve or day tradition?
I'm a pretty big fan of the low-key NYE. So basically staying home, not being on the roads, maybe having a couple friends over and playing board games. But making it to midnight is not the norm anymore.
I love this for us.
Like, I mean, what's the point? Yeah, what's the point anymore? Like, start your NYE at 6 p.m. and be home in bed and asleep. It's great.
Yeah,
it's midnight somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. And to your point, Kimber, like, yeah, those fireworks shows are live and they start, on YouTube at, whatever time Sydney is ahead of us, but many hours earlier.
So like this is, and like I agree, like this whole staying up to, I mean, I'll be up after midnight just because the sleep thing doesn't happen, but like, yeah, I'm in bed early. Yeah, it doesn't really happen anymore. I will share my tradition that I usually try to go for a hike on the first day of the year, no matter where I am. And
I was gonna bet that it was a food item for you.
No, it's like the Christmas is way more the foodie thing than anything else. It's just like for some reason I like to start the new year off like outdoors on a hike in nature, and where I will be visiting Benjamin. If you're on Benjamin, hi Benjamin. I'll be visiting number 2.1 for the holidays. And
Bob has versioned his entire family.
Yeah, because
one of my favorite things that I've ever learned about
2.2 is on the way in January. 2.2 will be here in January, and we'll
catching on. Someone else. Actually, I see Sam commented that recently joined GreyNoise is talking about the release date.
Yeah,
of their child. So like this is just
I mean, at some point, like one, because I will be in Delaware for a couple of these storm watches, and at some point, I like number 2.2 will make it on the podcast as a wee little baby on the show, so you can see him. And Ashley is our Overwatch. I don't think we say Ashley's name enough. Ashley is our Overwatch. She does amazing work at GreyNoise and does amazing work for this. It's the only reason this works at all. And Ashley, you also have to tell us, if you have one, what your favorite New Year's Eve day or tradition is.
None.
So Ashley is not making any major resolutions. Probably a good idea. It'll be interesting to see.
A tradition of not resolving to do anything seems pretty solid, honestly. Like, keep the bar low. That way you'll always be winning.
Undersell, over deliver.
Exactly.
Glenn's motto. That's Glenn's life motto right there.
Yeah.
It's a good one. It's a great strategy.
Bob's joke backfired.
Oh. All right. So if you are joining us live, do not hesitate to heckle. Oh, there he is. 2.1's on. Hey,
Breaking
Benjamin.
comment.
Hey, Benjamin.
Breaking news.
So do not hesitate to heckle. But today you should also jump in because we are going to be doing a segment on predictions. So if you have any predictions, please toss them out. We might be able to read them, although they're a little distracting. We have discovered when we listen to the show in the podcast form. Speaking of podcasts, we do actually have a podcast. I'm going to get that up right now. So let's. I'm going to put this up on the. We're doing a new thing now. How do we do this, Ashley? There we go. Cool. All right. Look at this. We almost have the tech stuff going. It's all me like messing things up again. So we do have a podcast, and we'll have better links for podcasts soon. So if you'd rather just watch us video on demand, or just would rather listen to us and read along with the PDF and some show notes, please go do that. And we are going to kick things off right away with some actually really astonishingly great news. We hinted last week, and there were rumors last week, and security people thought things last week and posited some things. And we actually now have an official FBI joint everything everywhere takedown notice that the ALPHV Black Cat ransomware group's stuff has been seized and taken over and everything. And it is really great to end the year knowing that these jerks finally got some comeuppance by law enforcement. Like, I don't know, I was thrilled this morning when this popped up and I saw this. I don't know where it was anybody else as elated as I was, because I was seriously stoked when I saw this a couple hours ago.
I was happy. I don't know, like, they'll rebrand and branch off and this and that. Like, we haven't it's a symptom. We haven't cured the illness or the disease. We've cured a symptom. So that's great. It's great. It's good news. It's good news.
I think it's going to be inspiring to a lot of people in a really strange way. Like,
what do you mean?
Sometimes, I don't know, when these people get taken down, there's like spin-off groups.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it might inspire some people.
So
I do love the drama that usually comes out afterwards, like the internal airing of grievances. Well, by the way, shout out Festivus. The internal airing of grievances that comes out after a big actor is shut down. I'm here for that, actually. And the playbooks that they have.
The chat logs, their Jira.
Yeah,
instances.
the chat logs. Yeah. No, it's actually really, it's really great training material, to be honest. But anyway.
So the general assumption, besides my elation, is that this is just hybrid, a cut off one head and two will take its place kind of a thing, is what you're saying, Glenn, and everybody.
But it'll slow them down.
All right.
I know.
For a minute.
I mean, hopefully some assets get seized and maybe some folks can get some money back. It'd be kind of
we
nice.
want those casinos to get their money back. That's what we need.
Ooh, that's
Very
really
concerned about that.
What kind of assets can get seized here?
It all depends on how deep they get in, right? Because if they get like the stuff for whatever coinage they use, I have no idea what digital coinage these folks use, but if they get Bitcoin or whatever they use, they can probably disseminate those assets or cash them out and give them to something. Be nice. Yeah, and they got private keys there. Exactly. Todd.
For some reverse or decryptor tools.
Yep.
So
we are going to continue with good news, and this is hard for me to actually swallow as good news, but we have to talk about it in the context of being good news because of what it caused. It caused two things we're going to be talking about right after this, which are not good news. But so we mentioned
two things this week.
Yeah, actually this week. So we actually mentioned the other week from one of the breaches that the actual perpetrators of the breach ratted out on the company to the SEC saying they should have filed this form out, and they were wrong because the SEC rule that if you're a public company and you have a material breach from a cyber thing, you have to report didn't take effect until literally yesterday. So what we have up on the screen for the podcast listeners is, we have links to all these things as you all know, so you can grab them, is the actual, like, this is the disclosure, this is what it is. And the director of division of corporate finance at the SEC did I thought a fairly good bit of commentary on what this actually means. Although it's funny, like he was speaking on behalf of the SEC, but then he says, like, I'm not speaking on behalf of the SEC. So it was a weird thing to read. Basically, just for folks, if you do work in a public company, your legal team already knows this, so this is not legal advice for us. We're just reading from the thing. So it requires to disclosure of material cybersecurity incidents within 4 business days. That's after realizing they were material. So this isn't going to cause a miraculous sharing of breaches and information. It's like companies aren't just going to miraculously start doing the right thing, but they do have to actually do the thing at some point. They have to describe all the stuff associated with it, and they really, like, I thought this was a really good thing. Don't be stupid when you do the disclosure. So you don't want to give away like things that could cause you to get more harm immediately, or or basically hurt your remediation efforts by letting other folks in and do stuff with you. The other one, which I think these are all just having performed some of these exercises before, annual cybersecurity risk management disclosure. You have to like talk about all the things you do to avoid, to mitigate risk in your organization. Those are usually checkbox exercises at most orgs. I'm sorry, still. The thing that I don't like about this one, there's one bit of bad news, I guess, or mediocre news. They used to have they used to put more onus on the board members for public companies to care about cyber, and they've removed a lot of that responsibility for the board members now as a result of this. So I'm not crazy about that, because I think that was actually helping before, and I'm not sure it's going to really help right now. I don't know. And then if you can delay, so like if you're like a public company and it would cause real potential like harm outside of your organization, like for public safety, you can get a delay. So like they're willing to work with you on a lot of things. And if you're a small public company, they're even more willing to work with you on how to actually handle some of those things. So you can actually ask them questions and not get smacked for something like on the back end of it. So I think this is a pretty reasonable, rational approach that they're taking to doing this. As we mentioned also last time, there's fewer and fewer public companies every year, so this applies to fewer and fewer organizations every year. But overall, I mean, I think this is actually pretty good news. It seems like a pretty decent amount of regulation combined with what the federal government's doing within the federal government and of critical infrastructure. I mean, are we making progress, folks? I want to do a roundtable. Does it feel like we're making progress in getting disclosure, getting folks to talk about things, getting folks to share information?
I think this is really interesting. I think it's progress. There's a lot of it kind of reminds me when, like, I mean, this is dating back 15, 20 years, but like when FBI and InfraGard were trying to really cement the relationship between public-private organizations for breach disclosure, or for like if you're hacked, like please reach out to us. Like we won't rat on you. We can work with you, we can help or whatever. So I get a lot of the same vibes with this, where it's like, hey, like, let us know, we can help with some guidance, we can help with some next steps. Like the FBI is weighing in on certain parts of it. So I think that's all good for that public-private partnership. It is interesting, the small versus large organization, like small is defined or smaller company is defined as 100 million annual revenue or less. Which is, I don't know if that's really small, but I don't know. So it's kind of interesting. But if you're under 100 million, you get 180 days more. So it goes from 4 days to 6 months, which seems like quite the gap.
Yeah, 6 months feels really substantial, like in
Yeah.
terms of how fast things can actually move. Just
Yeah.
I don't
Because there's companies that are, because I don't know if revenue is really the right way of measuring that. Now, I don't have a better idea, so I'm just coming with problems and not solutions. But a company or an organization can have all of the data in the world and still be under 100 million, or maybe like this incentivizes companies to stay under 100 million via fuzzy accounting, so that they get 6 months to let things settle or whatever. So I don't know. Metrics always create a game. So this is a new game that's being created.
Yeah, using revenue as a way to, and maybe this is very common in other industries, but I also am curious about like company size in terms of like how how many employees do they have?
Right.
Those
Yeah.
types of things, because I feel like that also has some very significant impact on the resources they would have to be able to handle something like this, whatever the
Yeah.
incident might be.
Yeah, you could have a 5-person company that has 250 million in ARR that
Yeah,
just
and
can't
0
deal with
security
it
people on
before.
staff, because that's everyone's responsibility and
Right.
no one's responsibility.
I guess there's no surprise that the SEC would focus on that as the metric, but again, it's a work in progress. So I think I guess to your original question, Bob, like I think it does progress. It's certainly an attempt. And as you've mentioned, like we've had several disclosures now, some right before the deadline took place, a couple after, which we'll talk about in a second.
Yep.
And folks, for if you now, like a great move, and I've already done this for us, but if you have vendors or third parties that you work with, or in your supply chain or whatever, like set up news alerts for the 8K filing and the name of that company. And that's how I found a couple this week, actually.
And we'll just jump right into that too. So what I've got on screen now, which is also a link, they are working hand in hand with the FBI, and like I know it's kind of scary for organizations to tap into law enforcement when there's an incident, and you listen to your legal counsel and what you do for business for this. But the FBI, like in my mind, they can actually help. They've been doing a good job in my estimation. They've been doing maybe not as good of a job as CISA is doing,
They're trying.
but they're trying, and they've got some good guidance as well too. So like just make yourself familiar with this, because if you are doing incident response or you're part of the security organization and legal is helping your organization deal with this, just being informed and knowing what's out there is probably a good thing. But I just want to give props for the FBI for doing a couple of really good things. Now, as Glenn mentioned, we do have some fruits
Wait,
of.
go back. Is that on purpose? Breaking ooh?
Well, so this was
Oh, there's an N and S.
there is
Never
there is like
mind.
it's called NEW. It's got letters, Glenn, everything.
Oh, I just saw breaking ooh.
They're not very clear letters.
Yeah, I mean,
I was going to give you props, but never mind. I'll take it back.
This was supposed to be animated, but we switched things up last minute, so it's okay. So this has had a benefit this week. We would not have. I'm going to posit we would not have known about this Xfinity breach that just got disclosed this morning as quickly if it weren't for this particular SEC regulation. So if you have Xfinity and you haven't received a notice, don't wait for it. Just go and probably take some time to reset your password. Maybe not right now if you didn't get the notice, because everything is jammed up at Xfinity right now from what all the reports are. The help desk is overwhelmed, people or whatever. It's chaos like it usually is as Xfinity and help desk and support stuff. But you should definitely consider, even if you didn't get the notice, resetting your account passwords on that one and just double checking everything and do whatever it takes to follow up with them and whatever they're going to give you coverage wise and everything. You probably already have. I think I have 5 different credit watches now from 5 different breaches like in the past 2 years. I don't know if you guys. Yeah, it's about.
I have 5 move-its. So.
Oh. Just remove it, huh? Wow.
Just remove it. Yeah. This one, so I wanted to ask the group on this one. If you read the notice, they directly call out it's a Citrix issue.
But they don't tell you what it is.
Yeah, they quickly but they quickly point to 2 things. One, Citrix, not us, and also thousands of other places use this too, which whatever. But do we feel like this is just a vibe that I am picking up on? So like research could answer this question, but I really feel like in the last 6 months, we're really seeing a lot of breach notifications that are just calling out the software vendor versus we experienced a security incident like they used to say. And now it's Citrix or it's Cisco or whatever, whatever the flavor is that everyone knows, to kind of soften the reputational harm to themselves. But I was just curious if anyone else has picked up on that, or if maybe I'm just off base here.
No, I think you're right. I think that's totally what's happening, and I like it. I like the level.
I like it too, actually. Yeah.
In the what happened, like Citrix had a thing happen. There was a patch. We promptly patched, but
they gave dates because they were like on the 10th there was a notification. On the 16th essentially is when they noticed things. So 6 days, that's okay. We're not talking like 3 months, like I think that the ACE disclosure or whatever it was. So like this one's a little bit more palatable at the top, but Yeah.
Well, and also it gives people a really good idea. Like you said, it mentions the timeline. I mean, that's not very many days between Citrix
Now
announcing and
it doesn't say when they patch, but
it says promptly. But I mean,
Mhm.
even then, it's
we know it was
October.
after the 16th.
Yeah, they announced on the 10th, and then between the 16th and the 18th, there was unauthorized access.
Yeah.
That's nothing.
Yeah, that's
Right.
actually pretty. As much as I don't love Xfinity, like on principle, this is actually a pretty decent like disclosure and like reporting and handling. I think. I mean,
Yeah.
especially compared to some of what we've seen. I mean, yeah.
Yeah,
And I
I
love
would.
the. Oh, I'm sorry, Kimber.
I would, if you have a security program that is not patching things with the utmost of speed, this would be an excellent incident to cite because you've got like, hey, it wasn't even a week, really.
Well, if Xfinity can like they can't, telecom communications companies in general can't get to anything in a scheduled time. So like the irony of them patching on a semi like good thing is not lost on me. But to the trend of calling out the software maker or whatever, I kind of love it because while it's certainly up to organizations to responsibly use and maintain these products, it is nice to kind of put that pressure on the software vendors to be better, right?
Yeah,
I
I mean,
agree.
yeah, so I've been a big proponent of software liability for a pretty long time.
I
And
agree.
the one thing that I think this might help do, and I've noticed the same trend. There's like, it's not a ton of organizations blaming the software vendor, but they're all, I think, starting to like pointing the finger at least makes you look over in the other direction for a little while. And well, but along with that, it's the and I've said this on the show before, so I don't mind saying it again. Like, and I won't call any individual vendor out, but because it's all of them really, they're all just waiting for like bug bounty people to find stuff so if they can maybe optionally pay them because sometimes they don't because that's been a thing of a couple ones in the past couple weeks, and then they only fix the tiny little thing. And as our own team has discovered, oh, you fix that, and there's like all this garbage around it that is also horrible, and you have
Yeah.
to go deal with that too. So the duty of care that these folks have to keep their stuff working in a secure and safe manner, just it's just not there. So I'm a big proponent of software liability.
And kind of calling it out also creates kind of a safety in numbers feeling for the quote victim. And um, I think I have a lot of hot takes on like what counts as a victim during a breach notification. Like if you didn't do what you need to do for 3 months, I don't know that you're a victim. Like, but in this case, it seems like it was less than a week. So like that seems fair.
The one thing I will point out as a customer, well, I'm actually not an Xfinity customer. I'm a Comcast business customer because of the way the internet works or does not in Maine. Uh, the thing that I don't like about it, like from this, the one thing that I really don't like about the report, it's actually highlighted, which is weird that you can actually read it from the tiny text. They don't force two-factor authentication on folks. Like it's 2023, it's almost 2024. The two-factor auth, especially if you're a customer and like get your billing account and whatever, it should just be a thing. You should not have to opt into it. It should be no, you do this. Like you cannot not have that. And I'm not crazy. Like I'm just not a fan that for whatever reason they're not forcing two-factor on everybody. And I know it's a pain. I know that would add to support costs, but it's just going to keep people's accounts safer.
Well,
And you wouldn't have to worry about these password resets as much if that was a thing.
I don't think you can make any argument for not having 2FA anymore. Like it adds cost, but that's just the cost of business. Like that's just not having 2FA is choosing not to pay taxes. Like it's not a choice that you should make.
I think you have to have a fairly robust support department to be
Yeah,
able to support 2FA because I think about
for
people
sure.
like my grandma, my parents, like using 2FA, and it's a struggle. Like there are people who legitimately don't understand the concept. People do want internet because we have to be on streaming services and everything now. So
Also, I didn't love the fact that it says like the next time you log in, we'll ask you to change your password. So that means if the password's out
Who's
there,
logging in? What if it's
who's
someone that's
logging in?
not you logging in?
No, I think it did say hashes, but still.
Yeah, I would like to see I think like your electric company or bank, like those kind of things force 2FA, right? But like you can go in person to deal with either of those things. A utility like internet, you can't go somewhere in person, really. I think there's like Xfinity stores and whatnot to help you troubleshoot and do identity management type stuff, but overall, not really.
Man.
Yeah. We had a great comment that until there are real financial consequences for their bad decisions, and I'm not going to put this on Comcast. This is corporations in general, and implementations of any of these things. None of them are going to take real responsibility
Exactly
to
right.
do better for their. So, like again, it's they get away with things because they're just not held to account. And that's not going to change, unfortunately, anytime soon. We're going to cruise to this because we're actually we have. I didn't think we have as much to say with this, but we actually do. We have one other one. So for folks that are fans of the outdoors and you use like Timberland stuff or North Face stuff, the parent company also got breached. A VF Corporation had a significant cyber attack on December 13th. It was detected. They detected unauthorized activity, and they did have to shut down some systems. It doesn't sound like that they actually put Susie out of a house like certain other little places did the other week, Glenn. And they again, it's the encryption, stealing data, the whole thing, including personal data. The one thing that so again, this is only because we only know about this because of the SEC ruling. So again,
Right.
2 breach notifications because of that. And I hope that I now forget who the actual perpetrator was if they said it. But it's another organization that's like screwing over the holidays. Like this is going to prevent people from getting presents at this time of year. And like this is like if there were presents coming from these places for people, like people need presents this year. I'm sorry, like it's been a year. So this is just mean on every single level by
The Cyber
by the
Grinch.
attackers. Yeah, the cyber Grinches. And like and I just love how the news things pointed out that this actually was reported yesterday. Like this literally was the first incident, the first breach of the notification thing on the. So we should probably start doing predictions about like how many of these we're going to see next year from the 4,000 or so remaining companies that are out there. But we won't do that today.
I'm also kind of just loving like more breach notifications because I have never heard of VF Corporation, but I now know that Smartwool and Supreme are
Right.
same parent
Yeah.
company now.
Yeah.
We live
Also, just
weird
can
time.
you leave Vans alone? Just come on. Have some
Also
class.
ultra, like
Yeah.
zero drop running
Yeah.
shoes. Like just let them be.
It's weird how like one mega corporation can affect so many different things.
Yeah, well, actually, and I'm really glad that you and Emily pointed this out because one thing that was mentioned in some of the different articles is that they've grown through acquisition, obviously, because they have got a ton of sub companies. And when you do that, and if you don't onboard a company well, you let yourself up for all sorts of shenanigans
Boy.
cyberwise because you don't if you don't take all the due diligence to make sure that the onboarding was solid, you're in for a potential world of hurt. And there's no evidence that this was a direct thing, but because they've been on an acquisition spree for all those like diverse companies that you just mentioned, that could be the vector, but it's not guaranteed to be the vector, but it may just be.
I want more details because I've worked in retail before, and I mean in terms of like cybersecurity in retail before, and I really wonder like if their email is all like the same system or like how much autonomy the different brands have over their IT environments, because sometimes you can just be standardized, like even in the POS systems.
It sounded like the way it was written, the implication I got was it was more at the distribution level, like fulfilling orders for distribution versus consumers.
Yeah, so
Bob, I don't know
maybe
if you explained what's happening behind you, but
For the folks that are watching, I do have a live stream of the volcano that's currently going off over in Iceland, and now there's something weird going on behind me.
Yeah, is that why you guys were chuckling?
yeah, it just started panning around, and it was kind of Bob was just zooming around in like a X-wing or something.
Mayhem.
All right.
General mayhem.
All right, so we are going to jump into the thing that maybe everyone's joining for, maybe everyone's going to tune in for, or maybe you are ignoring completely because you think that the whole prognostication thing in cybersecurity is daft. I'm going to take this off the stage and come up to talk to everybody here. And I'm just going to go around. We probably have time for maybe one or two to pick your fave prediction that you have done. There's a blog post up on the GreyNoise blog. Go for it. Emily, thank you so much for contributing to it. Like, you didn't have to, but we appreciate you doing that.
Yeah.
Actually, and we're going to start with you as a result of that. Sorry.
Oh gosh. Okay.
Which one of your predictions you want to share first?
So I think I'm going to start with the one that I refer to as the most mundane of my predictions, because I think maybe it's a little bit different from some of the others. I liked seeing how I feel like there were common threads among like all of our predictions, which is sort of interesting.
Yeah, we did this in silence.
Yeah.
We didn't like collaborate on these.
No collaboration.
Which was what made it interesting. So yeah, I think, we've seen a lot. I obviously I'm going to talk about like move it and like file transfer stuff, but like I really think back office software is going to continue to be targeted, right? Like these have seemed like pretty successful targets for threat actors. I mean, again, file transfer was kind of the flavor this year and maybe a little bit earlier. But we also saw like paper cut, right? Like print server management software. And I kind of just have to wonder how much other B2B software that's sort of floating around out there on the internet, sort of unprotected, not behind a VPN, not, that shouldn't be hanging out online. I kind of wonder how much of that is going to be targeted, because it could potentially offer very interesting footholds into organizations. And these are things that I think, I mean, at least anecdotally, it seems like organizations don't necessarily seem to maybe give the same amount of security scrutiny that they do to more user-facing pieces of their software and applications. Like if it's not a web app that their users or customers use. So yeah, I'm interested in seeing kind of how that unfolds. I'm curious to see the new tools that we see come under attack.
Yeah, if I could tap into that for a second too, because I was listening to the Run Zero, watching and then listening afterwards, the Run Zero webcast last week. They were doing their end of year stuff as well. And now, for folks that don't know, like Run Zero, HD Moore, and Tom Sellers, a bunch of awesome people there. They do like they help you manage vulnerabilities on your local network. They have to let you know what's on your local network. They pointed out that there's actually more stuff than we actually realize. Still doing like we're just going to talk to your router and be on the internet, whether you like, unless you deliberately configure us otherwise. That's a thing. Like it's like I didn't think that was still a thing anymore, mostly because I don't buy stuff that actually does that. But small businesses or smaller businesses, large enough ones though, they might fall prey to something like that too. So I think you were talking more maybe deliberate exposure. I think maybe there's some like accidental exposure because you just don't know.
Absolutely. I think it's a little bit of both, right? A little of column A, a little of column B. And you touched on a great point of like small businesses, right? Like they don't necessarily have the resources or the expertise to like address these things. So they're going to pick things that are easy to like set up out of the box. And if the default configuration is, well, I'm talking to the internet, like that's just what's happening. What are the chances they're really going to figure that out and know? And not because they aren't knowledgeable, but just as a small business owner, like you have so many competing priorities that like making sure some random piece of software or device isn't talking to the internet is probably not like super high on your like list of priorities.
Cool. Okay, Kimber, what is your top four? What is the first prediction you want to go over? Because I think we have time for a couple.
I think my prediction that I'm most looking forward to is how wacky things are going to get with it being 2024 election drama. I think it is already rumbling. I think I can't.
Yeah, did you say going to get?
Yeah.
I think it's going to get so much more weird. I'm excited to see exactly how things get weird beyond the predictable voting machine scandal shenanigans. Just no matter where your allegiances, I don't know if that's the right term to use. No matter where your allegiances lie, things are going to get weird. So
like, do you mean so like cyber attacks or like using like what's happening now and like the big thing in the news, like using AI for disinformation? Like is it everything? You're just saying like everything is going to be chaos?
Less so cyber attacks and more so really, I think we're going to learn a lot about how the different political parties view cyber warfare. if just to be like really blunt. I think we're going to learn a lot about how it is going to be part of a political platform to have an opinion on cybersecurity, and who is informing candidates about those sort of things. Like, what is their understanding of what's going on, and how do they speak about that to the public, and where does it fall in their priorities? So AI is going to make it even weirder.
Cool. I get. Oh, not cool. Glenn, what's your first one?
So this is, I mean, I think like everyone under the sun is talking about AI. So I don't know if we want to dive into that too much, but it'll be my first take was essentially like it's going to be like 23, but more AI, which I know is not really like a hot take of any sorts. But one thing I'm kind of curious of and keeping an eye on is I strongly like, I guess optimistically, I want to think that like the major kinetic wars that are going on right now will end in 24. And when that happens, and we've talked about this a little bit in the past, but when that happens, there's there's a heightened skill set for these cyber armies or whatever you want to call it between these nation states. And vulns, especially unknown vulns, they're perishable. They have a shelf life until someone else finds them. So I'm curious, like I'm hopeful that we'll see the end of the kinetic wars. I'm curious and thinking that when we do, there will be an absolute onslaught in the month or two following the end of peacetime, or the start of peacetime for the cyber defenders and organizations out there, because whatever's sitting on the shelf or in the queue or in that G drive share of or Proton share of whatever they've been sitting on, like it's got to be used. So it's just going to be absolutely disgusting for a short while.
We're getting dark, guys. We're getting dark.
Lighten it up.
I
That's a horrifying thought. Yeah,
it is.
Well, I mean, I'm not.
No, I mean, I'm here for it, but like,
I mean, I'm rooting
that's
for
a little.
I'm rooting for peace. I am pro peace. Hot take.
So as my co-host probably read, I took a slightly irreverent approach. I did try to predict, but I was irreverent as I predicted, because it is hard for me to take like the predictions cybersecurity thing really seriously. Sorry, Ashley. But so I'm actually gonna read mine just because like it is very, very, very irreverent. So I'm gonna riff off of Glenn's AI thing, because we all touched on AI a little bit in all of ours. So we've all seen how AI can be a force for good, but in 2024, we're going to see it go further rogue than it has already gone in 2023. Cyber criminals are going to level up their efforts at using AI to launch attacks that are so sophisticated, they'll make the Death Star look like a kid's toy. We're talking deep fakes that are indistinguishable from reality, and spear phishing attacks that could fool even the most vigilant among us. It's going to be like Skynet, but instead of killer robots, we'll all have killer emails and deep fakes. So that's I am like, and I made this prediction before some like I'm not going to mention sides. We already factions. I'm not going to mention whatever one did this. There's already been a major use of deep fakes, mimicking and faking the voice of television newscasters with regard to one of the campaigns. And that I did this prediction before that, and like so. I mean, it's not 2024.
How can
so
this
I guess
not be considered like election fraud or something? But anyway,
yeah, I don't know. But like that's the thing. Like they're already doing it, and this is, you all have probably noticed this, but like I keep up maybe more than most folks. I think Morris keeps up better than I do, but the level of sophistication in these deep fakes, especially the video.
Oh,
Bob, we lost your audio.
totally lost your audio.
Is that better?
Yep. You're good.
You're back.
So I have no idea what caused that. So yeah, I think just this, we're going to see, it's going to be really, really difficult to tell deepfake from not deepfake in like middle of the year next year.
Well, that's why I have to ask Bob, in your dramatic reading of your prediction, did you write that using AI. Did you ask ChatGPT to make it dramatic?
I
Because
asked ChatGPT to make a very boring blend for each one of these three things. I asked it to help. Actually, I didn't ask ChatGPT. I asked Perplexity. But
I
I
think
did.
I can already recognize these AI talking patterns that uses certain words. I can notice it. I call people out on it on the regular already. So it's gonna be fun.
That's because
The
our industry's
writ-
full of pattern people, and so
Yeah.
grandma's not going
Detection
to notice.
engineering. So the thing that kind of scares me a little bit here, the written stuff I think is pretty easy to discern, right? Like Kimber, like what you're touching on is right. Like you can kind of just tell like something is chat GPT-ified. Yeah, it just sounds like a bot, right? But the deep fake video pieces do concern me because if you think about like even when papers print written retractions of things, no one reads those. Like, how do you can't like pour the rain back into the cloud, right? Like you can't, that was a really weird analogy, but you can't undo this once it's unleashed, right? And I do kind of wonder about the impact of like video and maybe even voice deep fakes going into this election cycle. That's really concerning to me. Like that's starting to really worry me.
That's gonna be, I mean, the kids are all right. Like I truly don't worry about the kids. Like they know already. But I don't think entirely that some of the generations that didn't grow up entirely online
Exactly.
understand. Yeah.
That's what I'm worried about.
Yep.
Glenn, you're on mute. Glenn, you're on mute.
Glenn.
You're actually like on actual mute.
Look at that. No wonder no one's listening to me.
Ever, yeah.
But okay. 404 had an article, I think it was yesterday, about recognizing 404 Media about recognizing deep fakes, and it actually went through a couple of popular image shares and their variations and stuff. It's a really good read, and it's really not a complete story because they're basically asking for folks to contribute some content to make a complete story. But it's an interesting thing that we're absolutely going to be up against, and whatever grandma was sharing or your parents were sharing last year or 2 years ago is about to get even more ridiculous.
I just want to read this comment, and I'd love to dig in
man,
further in the next year. So, fake news is a huge problem for emergency management. I confess to not knowing that that's been a problem for emergency management. So, and I am going to believe that because it's a problem for a lot of things. So why wouldn't it be for that too? And it's hard to get ahead of that fake info. Just like you were saying, like no one reads the retractions, so you're not going to actually be able to say this didn't happen or out there for before.
Yeah, I think a really good example of this is it's kind of in a line in between deep fakes and not, but basically the videos that take from old stuff that happened and market it as new stuff. So there'll be a video going around of something really dramatic happening and people will think that it's recent because of the immediacy of it, but really it's just some kind of content farm that's trying to get views.
So that comment made me think of like a combination of issues.
Just before you go, I'm just glad anything made you think. That's great.
Oh my goodness! All right, this is how we're going to be the rest of the day.
I have a prediction for 2024. The Bob Glenn rivalry just goes up a notch, like volume to 11.
We're fun. Yeah, we're actually We're actually pretty friendly, but that's what he keeps telling me. So the irony of this comment coming in from Twitter/X is also not lost on me, but it was a comment about fake news as a huge problem for emergency management. And so like we have Twitter, while it was never great compared to today, it used to be great for disseminating urgent, short, like actionable information, especially in emergency situations, because you could get a signal for 5 seconds, get a thing out and whatever. So combine the fact of like the changes at X, the downfall of like whatever you want to call that, plus the improvements and more realistic with our AI images and videos and stuff like that. Like that's a combination for just absolute like terror. Like that just is kind of the recipe of disaster.
Okay, so
And-
now go, Emily. But like, I want to do another prediction because like we're getting really, really dark. We
No,
we've
go
been talking
ahead.
about
Let's keep.
okay,
keep going.
so does anyone have a lighter prediction that isn't because we're just taking everybody into like Scotch territory. It's like 5 o'clock.
Dibs. Lighter
Yes,
prediction.
yes. Go for it, Kimber.
One of my predictions was 2024 is going to be the year of high conference attendance because people are lonely. People are looking for community.
People need a hug.
Need a hug from the homies. But also, like, where do you even congregate if you're not congregating on InfoSec Twitter? I'm sorry. Mastodon is not doing it for me. I love, the people that are there. I get to like go and visit and it's like, oh my God, here's where all my old friends are, but it's not my daily, like, I'm still on IRC.
I see. So when I read your first Reddit and then I read it again today before this, that actually it did make me hopeful. That was like very positive. Now I'm one of those. I won't necessarily tell you to wear a mask, but I will suggest everyone wear masks when you go out in the public and do things. But I hope people do take health precautions. But it would be great if people started to meet in meet space again or more fervently in meet space. Because I don't think we're going to have a coalesced platform anymore for anyone to share anything. So it's like I just think of the B-sides movement and like more B-sides more often, more places. Just get out there, share your knowledge, get hooked. You just start talking to people and just not even just that. Like because like I think you were specifically talking conferences, but like I know you hang a lot at hackerspaces, Kimber, and I think it'd be great to see more hackerspaces just pop up everywhere and get more folks involved in this because we need more folks in cyber anyway. We need more diverse folks in cyber. And just to help educate folks, it might be a great way to onboard folks into something that they weren't into before.
Yeah, we've been definitely seeing more people at the hackerspace lately. And then I think those regional conferences, they're organizing in such a way that makes it really community oriented rather than just turn up, go to the talk, whatever. Like I think a lot of conferences are getting more into a collaborative approach where it's let's work on a CTF together. Let's hack the badge together. Like let's do those sort of things.
It's really cool. Anybody else have a positive one before we continue on with the rest of the show? I don't because I don't remember anyone.
I gave you my positive one.
Yeah,
which wasn't really positive.
I know.
No, mine
no
are not.
positivity in 2024.
But I do love I do love that one of Kimber's, and I hope that is true. Because I think the feeling that you get when you leave a con is, well, when you're at a con is great. When you leave a con, that deep depression is real, which means it was good.
Yeah, I always feel like kind of creatively inspired too when I
absolutely.
I miss that feeling.
Yeah, it makes it real.
I'm going to do one more. We got from a SecOps perspective, will 2024 be a year of increased machine learning AI adoption at various levels across the board, threat hunting, compliance, etc.?
Oh, yeah.
Hot take. If you are not adopting ML into your threat hunting process, you're too slow.
100% agree.
Yeah.
They aren't exactly a competitor of ours, so I don't mind saying their name. I sometimes get yelled at for saying names of people that may be in the adjacent space. But I took SOC Prime's AI rule creation stuff for a spin the other day, and it's pretty darn good. Like, so if you're someone that actually has to do threat detections at your place of business, it's learning how to use these tools effectively, listening to our SIFT webinar that we just recorded and put out would be great to understand exactly where you could use them for and see some of these things. And Census has a really cool like AI based thing to help search because I can't stand non-SQL searches, so I use that actually all the time.
I use the Census search all the time too.
Yeah, because I just cannot stand non-SQL. It's just me. So I think. Yeah, and like maybe we'll cover some more of that as well too. Oh, thank you, Ashley, for putting.
Well, I mean, just to highlight why I think this is a lot of cybersecurity is pattern recognition, and that's effectively what machine learning is doing, is using the power of computers to pattern faster. So if you're using that to understand what's an anomaly versus a pattern and where these things are, then you're winning.
I know that we have like 10 minutes, but this kind of ties into one of the quote predictions that I had, which was around, CISOs are going to be, or whoever's in charge of security at organizations anymore after everything shakes out. But they have to balance, right? Like the adoption of AI, ML from making their business more efficient, but also like if you are a software vendor or something, like integrating it into your own product, right? Like, so that's an interesting rock and hard spot to be in. But to the point earlier, like if you're not already using this or you don't already have something close, especially for threat hunting, close to me, you're doing a big disservice to yourself, because it is, while there are a lot of issues with what it can do that's not so positive in this space, since our jobs are very binary and very, like you said, pattern recognition, and we're looking for changes and anomalies. So it's a perfect fit for these types of tasks.
And the two thoughts that I have on this are, I'm not sure how you would integrate AI into compliance, but I'm very curious there. Also, red teaming, pen testing is definitely adopting AI.
Yeah.
So I think
it's the killer robots telling you to do things, and if you don't, then they kill you. That's how the compliance thing is working for AI.
Yeah. One thing that I just want to touch on around this too, this is kind of I have very strong feelings about this. Like, we need more data science folks in security. Like, I think that's a huge area of opportunity, like a huge area where we need that expertise. Like, we need people coming from the stats and math and like analytics backgrounds into security to be able to say like, hey, no, this is BS, or this is a concern I really have about implementing this type of product or tool or type of model on this type of data. Like, I think that expertise is really, really valuable. And it's really interesting because I've seen a lot of interest, in the security community around data and ML and AI. And that, which is wonderful because these are fantastic and fascinating technologies. But I also really want to see more data science folks, more data professionals kind of gravitating toward the security, trust and safety, that space, because I think there's such a need for those skills and that like deep knowledge of just, stats and math and ML, and like, is this actually real? Is it BS? Like, I think that's very, very important. So I don't know, if you know data people, like, tell them that, hey, we need them. Like, this industry really needs them.
Yeah. Come to the dark side. We do have cookies, indeed, and
we need people from all backgrounds, like all previous skill sets.
Oh, for sure. Clear, yeah. But, not to say just data people, but that just made me think like, yeah.
We don't know what we're doing with that, so help us.
The one thing I already said them a couple of times, but if you are in cyber in any kind of response position, or you are designing things or whatever, and you're not using some kind of tool like Perplexity, I am saying use them, because I do use them on a daily basis. It helps a lot, and it's not just random chat GPT, go pull from knowledge they gathered from knowledge, quote unquote, data they gathered from a while back. It's live stuff from, I gotta use it for making that stuff. Like when I do that, it sounds like the garbage predictions that I made. It's great. Like they can provide very timely information on a lot of threats. Glenn and I have done a lot of experiments on like, hey, what can you tell me about vulnerabilities, et cetera. It's actually a pretty fan. It's a pretty great thing to be able to do. Yeah, because it's got receipts.
It has receipts. It has recent receipts. Yeah. Also, you can use several different models if you pay. So, very well done.
All right, we are going to move on and maybe move faster. Tool time. This Emily and I could probably talk a bit about the math behind some of this, or the lack thereof. But if you haven't seen this, there is yet another risk scoring system so that you can try to get your company to do something that they may not want to do, like make things better cyber-wise. Zoom released their VIS calculator last week, and I saw that, and I'm like, I thought for a second it was yet another Zoom icon in the Zoom app that they'd add another O, and it was, thankfully it wasn't actually built into the Zoom app. It's just something that they released out. They're a little bit weird about like how you can use it, and you have to credit them every time you use it. So I don't know how that's going to play inside your organization. But the methodology is there. Basically, you you fill in a lot of information. It reminds me a lot of some things Intel was doing about 12, 13 years ago. And I hate the fact that I can actually say 12, 13 years ago. And you basically give it like what platform is impacted, like what is actually there. And like the example I have on the screen for folks is it's an unrestricted RCE. And like, because that tends to be like what GreyNoise sees, because that's vendors don't actually patch their stuff and keep their stuff safe. So this and it gets scored a 1 to 100. If you're 100, you should really do something about it. If it's below that, maybe you could do that. The thing I wanted to point out here is, so it uses 13 metrics. So like CVSS uses the same thing. And there's a whole bunch of words and acronyms on here that I'm actually not going to go through. And the one thing that I just wanted to, I will just ask Emily really briefly. So, I mean, CVSS is still weight driven. This is like heavily weight strict. If you dig into it, they actually show the specifications and the methodology. It's awesome. But like, what is your opinion on like relying on weight weight-based stuff? Is like, I would describe it as Kimber describes a lot of things, vibes based. It's like vibes based. So like, how cool is that in your mind?
Yeah, so without having looked at like kind of what's going on under the hood on it, like I'm optimistic, but also it does feel like this is also very complex. It seems like there's so many things it's taking into account, which also makes me wonder, like, is it overcomplicating things to a degree? I do think weights play an important part of being able to kind of measure risk in these types of things, or the impact of a vulnerability. But I think I don't know. I would have to look more at like how this is actually being done to be able to, I don't know. I'm skeptical, but cautiously optimistic, I guess.
So maybe we'll dig into it actually, we shouldn't do anything over the break, but we'll dig into it next year, maybe
Yeah.
and see if we can get them on to talk about it and maybe share
That
some
would
of
be
their
cool.
insights. I have no
I'm
idea.
curious to like someone ask Zoom to do this. It just seems so random.
No, because like I mean, so I did mention a number of large organizations. It depends on how gregarious the CISO happens to be, or how well you can.
They're like, we're not
champion
going
an
to
effort that
listen
you
to
wanna go do.
NVD, CVSS4, or CAPE, or MITRE, or whatever. But
Well,
Zoom,
and actually,
we're all
and
in.
well, no, to say that, and if Todd's still listening, just say one more nice thing about CISA. Like CISA actually has one too, and I actually like theirs. So like that's like there's a lot of competing ones out there. I guess just using one at all is great. I mean, whether it weights or not, but yeah, like
But
but
at what
yeah,
point?
but a lot of orgs do actually try to create one of their own to try to solve the problem again.
Well, then it stays internal.
Well, that's why this one's so interesting. Zoom installed on a ton, an
Everything,
absolute
yeah.
load of enterprise computers, and probably has to have some pretty solid concerns about data security. So they have access to a lot of data and a very robust platform. So also 13 metrics, unlucky number, very sus.
Okay, we are going to move on to the next one. Just try to make Ashley's life not horrible. Shameless self promotion. You, Aiden, did another great blog. Could you talk a bit about it, Emily?
Yeah, absolutely. So last week, I think CISA released an advisory saying, "Hey, this JetBrains RCE has been used by the Russian Foreign Intelligence Service." And so we actually we went and looked at this particular CVE. We looked at how many Team City instances we could see across the internet, and found about 3,400 of them, and about half of them are running versions prior to the patch version. The patch version is 23.05.4, and about half of them, as of late last week, were the unpatched versions. We see them across the US, Germany, Ireland, Russia, China. So there's quite a few of them out there. So of course, if you are running one of these, please go patch it. JetBrains has there's a patch. Please go check your Team City instance for indicators of compromise, because that's not great. Unauthenticated remote code execution. But yeah, shout out to Aiden from my team for working on this. He did a great job.
Yeah, another great blog.
Yeah.
The Glenn, you want to talk briefly about two of the ones we got out?
Yeah, we had the team had a couple of blogs last week between Remy and Ron. Or was Howdy's last week?
Howdy's.
I don't know. We've had several blogs.
It was Howdy the one week and Ron the other week, I think.
Okay, but we've had a few blogs about essentially like looking for POCs and looking for exploitation based on what we're seeing in the wild, right? And it's almost working right to left to develop a tag or detection for our services. But it's with our new sensors that we're rolling out, our new architecture, which we've talked about at length, and you'll hear a lot more about because it's awesome and it's growing. But it makes us a lot more feasible. So hopefully in a year from now, we'll be talking more about the impact of being able to work from backwards using AI, essentially backwards from exploitation in the wild to detection, and then using that to alert organizations. So it's a cool read. They're techie. They're for the nerdy, the nerdy geeky folk who want to get in there and see what's going on. Also, Remy did a fun thing where because Remy can't just write a blog, he has to add challenges to it. So he did it like voice to text and then had AI, like, I don't know. It's a fun little read, but
Yeah. And the other one for the F5 one, that Ron really did a massive amount of work on the F5s.
So Ron has a long history of Metasploit modules and exploit development. So it's interesting to see as he joined our team for him to come over and see the use of his test exploits instead of folks really like putting in some effort to customize it or make it work a little better. And so
It was
I think
so
he's a little salty that he put in all that
it's a
work
really good
to make
snarky
it.
post. It's a really, really good snarky
Yeah,
post.
to make it better, and people are just using the test examples.
The real time, like seeing that thread of him realizing, like they didn't even edit anything.
This is my test blog. This isn't even the real.
I'm like, yeah, dude. Like script kiddies are real, and it's truly just copy pasta.
Which is, it shows how low the bar can be. Yeah.
Yeah, attackers that are listening, stop validating Kimber. Like seriously, because he's right about this stuff. Don't just stop. And we keep this is the third week we mentioned it. We're gonna have a tag series coming up in January, so everyone should jump on those because we're gonna be going deep dive into tags. There will be some talk about AI and stuff towards the third episode too. So for folks that are interested in that, we will give it a little bit of there. We have 3 tags last week. We're not going to talk about any of them because we had to move on, but you can always see what's going on there. And we will probably have a few more before the end of the year. GreyNoise is on break next week. We have a skeleton crew watching things. If vulns do pop, we will be doing things, but hopefully the team can get a break and not do a whole lot of stuff. If Todd, you're still on, please don't release a Kev while I say this, because like it's been 8 days since we've had a Kev release, which is great. Like nice end of year, nice calm. Maybe no Kevs, maybe no 0 days.
Why would you say that? Why would you put that out into the universe?
There is no way we make it 11, 12, whatever days without a.
Oh, throwdown. All right. Hey, like I'm just I kind of a little bit. I need a little bit of hope. I can hope.
I think you should maybe just keep it like maybe not say it out loud because now you're tempting.
All right, that's it. We are going to make it through to like the second day of January without another massive thing happening. There you go. I'm going to say it right now. And
because you said that, Bob, it's going to be like December 28th.
All right. Well, I mean,
Kev's going to be like the image behind you right now, Bob.
Everybody can blame me. I have to tell you, with the image behind me, and I've been watching it every so often, that camera, I wouldn't be there. Like, I hope the camera crew abandoned the camera and it's all remote because it just looks really scary out there with that lava flowing everywhere. We're going to close real quick. Sis has got a great write-up with I think the Aussies cyber folks on Play Ransomware. 300 victims. It's a good read. Lots of IOCs. If you don't already stop, if you haven't already read it and you haven't already applied it or watched for those things, please dig into that. It's a great resource. Like they always produce great resources. So yeah, there you go there. And we are going to also, now this is just one, and we had a brief convo about this at the beginning, so I do need to let someone vent about this. It's 2023, it's almost 2024, and we still have to beg and plead with people, especially manufacturers of critical infrastructure kit, to not have default passwords. Anybody have strong feels about default passwords on this?
It should be illegal and a criminal act.
I think we have to just stop relying this. I love the intent behind this, but at this point, I think we have to be a little bit more realistic and assume this is never going to fully get fixed. And we have to just encourage organizations to like take proper precautions. Like that's, I don't know. I'm not optimistic.
Financial so Justin always has some good commentary with this. Financial consequences if you do
Yeah.
decide that you're going to do that. How you do it for legacy kit, I have no idea, but kit moving forward, yeah, like maybe have something out there that's a little bit stronger than a please with like a candy cane or something. We are going to close it out with hopefully somewhat positive thing, because like, and we didn't before. It was like, what's your tradition? I'd like to know if anyone has like, and not having a resolution. We know Ashley doesn't. Is great, but like, I'm gonna start with Kimber. What is your most important or coolest, funnest New Year's 2024 New Year's resolution?
I think I'm gonna climb a couple mountains this year.
Oh, wow, nice.
That's solid.
Casual flex.
Like, I think I'm just gonna bag a couple peaks. Not like a 14er or anything. Maybe like a 10er.
Okay.
Just something
Wow.
simple. Go to the top of something a couple of times. That's the goal.
Come up. If you come up to here, this is like, unless you don't want to hike with us, but like we will hike to the top of Katahdin. It's great. Like the hike is a great hike.
That's so cool.
Yeah, Katahdin's great. It's a great hike.
AT.
Yeah. If you and on any social media site, the background image is us at the top of Katahdin. So like it was a wonderful hike with the fam.
Love hiking. Love
We should
breathing
do an
air.
episode from there.
I don't think there's cell coverage up there, if I remember correctly. I don't think there.
We can
actually is.
pre-record.
All right, Emily, what is your most important, coolest, funnest, whatever resolution, if you have one?
So I'm not a resolution person because I'm kind of, I don't know, what's that quote that's like, the best time to plant a tree was 10 years ago and the second best time is now.
Today,
I'm a big believer in like, or today. Yeah. Like if you need to make a change, if there's something you need to do, just do it. Like if resolutions work for you, that's awesome. But yeah, I don't really have anything pressing that I'm going to like tackle on January 1st.
You know, the dude that got everyone to start planting trees like all the time, that like yesterday said, like, please stop doing that. You know, he said that yesterday.
Well, so much for that then.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Glenn, what is your most important 2024 New Year's resolution?
I don't think I have one. Maybe enough therapy to better take the abuse from my manager. But that's probably about it.
I mean, it would be good. It would be good if you sucked it up better. I would just like take it, just I guess stuff up her lip. It'd be great. Yeah, anything.
No,
Great.
I don't think I have one. I'm kind of in Emily's camp on this. I might pick an arbitrary date sometimes when there's a goal, but it's not like a New Year's thing. It's starting next week or starting on Monday or whatever. So
I'm learning how not goal oriented y'all are.
No, it's that I just don't want to wait until the first of the year.
Yeah. There's goals. They're just not revolving around the calendar year.
So
just something you want to do next year.
Yeah. So I do have one. I think most folks here probably know that like I I'm no, and I think I've said it before, but I don't leave the compound at all if I can avoid it. COVID caused that more than anything else, and getting COVID actually caused that too. So I've actually made a resolution to get the bleep over that next year. Just get out more, deal with humans more. Some of that involves canvassing next year too. So
bad news for the rest of the world.
Yeah, because if I don't get out, I can't do canvassing and stuff next year. So
Bob, you can do it.
You can do it. It'll be worth it.
I just want to share this great sentiment at the end here from folks. I thank you for all joining this, and I should also point out we are on hiatus for a couple weeks. We all got things. We're all going to decompress. I got a grandson and a new one coming, so we are back. Actually, I believe on the 9th. So you can look forward to being seeing us and hearing us and listening, engaging with us all again. When is Festivus already done? Like, is that a thing, or is it all?
It's Saturday.
Is this
23rd.
Saturday? It is. Okay,
Mhm.
cool. All right, so happy whatevers for everyone that's out there. Thank you all for joining me. Thank you, Ashley, for a great job this year. By the way, this is our 30th Storm Watch.
Somehow.
30th. Amazing.
Wow.
Just amazing.
Go team.
So thanks to the listeners. Thanks to Ashley for everything. Thanks to you all for being here. And we will catch you again in January on the next Storm Watch.
See you next year.
Yeah.
Chuckle,
Happy
chuckle.
New Year.